So, over the past few days, I've been really introspective, and particularly yesterday, I came to a realization which might just completely reframe my entire life, at least, certainly at least since I was a teenager. And that is on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I was planning at least to meet up with four different people. The first being, of course, my husband, although unfortunately he was at work, so I kind of tried to see if I could, in the very least, meet up with anyone else, and I got three other people who were willing to meet up with me, just either on the weekend or on a specific day. One in particular said he'd meet up with me on Saturday, didn't work out. They said the same about Sunday, didn't work out. And as for the other two, it was just kind of general over the weekend. One of them didn't work out, and the other one simply ghosted me. And this has been quite rough, to be honest, in a way that really prior to the furry meet, to be honest, almost 6 months ago now. Would it be 5 or 6 months, but quite a while ago. I never really had much desire to meet up with people or interact with people, to have kind of a friend circle of friends in an IRL space. And I consider myself to be an introvert for the most part. I have a decent collection of friends that some of which I would say even most of which I've known for a good few years, 2 years, 3 years, close to 4 years even. But they're all online, they all live thousands of miles away from me, and for quite a while that felt like enough. I wasn't really bothered throughout most of my teenage years, really kind of 13 to 19. I spent the vast majority of time alone, even in high school. I didn't really have many friends in high school. I stuck to myself, and either I read books or I read fan fictions during break. I went out to the park, I went out and just walked. I kind of, there were some kind of friends that I had, there were some people I interacted with, but really for the most part, I just stuck to myself because, I mean, I don't want to now kind of look back and rewrite stuff years later, but I really just didn't feel the need for social interaction that I feel now, and I simply wasn't interested in most people around me. I didn't feel like I got on well with them, that I kind of fit well with them, that I just plainly wasn't interested, and this was how I felt for years. Although, despite that, and this is really the realisation I came to yesterday, despite being so introverted for the vast majority of, I would really say, my thinking life, in terms of being kind of, even at the very least 12, 13, 14, being cognizant, being kind of actively thinking, even if, of course, at the time I would have been much less mature. Despite being extremely introverted, despite having virtually no friends, or literally no friends, or having lots of kind of friends people can talk to online, but literally no one IRL. Despite being introverted in that sense, there's always a sense that even if I didn't realise it or I didn't want it directly, I've always been an extremely extroverted or sociable person, in terms of, and I've talked about this before in a few videos, but really when I was growing up, we're talking 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, throughout the vast majority of my teenage years, particularly the younger and kind of middle teenage years, one of the main things that I did, aside from kind of reading fan fiction, was just whether it be sitting in school or going out for walks. I was usually out somewhat before I was. Well, there was certain times when I was in my room, but certainly during spring and summer, at the very least, I was out, even if it was just by myself. But one of the main things that I did was just simply think and fantasise usually about the fan fictions I was reading about, particularly romantic interactions, kind of put myself in those worlds. But not even just romantic stuff, in terms of social stuff, like imagine myself in all sorts of different scenarios, different fan fictions, different books. Even if I was interested in history or a certain TV show or time period or era, imagine myself kind of in that setting, in that era, interacting with people, whether that be again romantic interactions or whether it just be friends or acquaintances or talking to someone, kind of taking interest in someone and someone equally taking interest in me. And I don't necessarily this was a when I was like in a obsession or it was a kind of escapism, but I don't really like highlight that point and make it seem more extreme than it was, but I do think in a way it was a kind of escapism, which even if I didn't really want friends IRL, I didn't want to meet up with people, interact with people, even if I didn't even think if that's a possibility really. This was always there, it was always something that was kind of going through my head, these kind of fan fiction stories, kind of fantasising about having romantic partners or even just friends or acquaintances, people I can kind of talk to, hang out with again, people who not only take interest in me, but I take interest in. But throughout most of my teenage years, well, most people have already had these kind of friend groups, but me not drinking, not taking drugs, at the time largely being asexual or certainly not having an interest in women anyway. Kind of becoming vegan later on and just being different. I didn't really have many opportunities to interact with people. Most of the people I was kind of forced around in terms of being in a high school setting. I found that as we got older, we only drifted apart, which is, I mean, when I was very young, and this is why I say 12, 13, when I was in primary school, I had lots of friends. Lots of people who I talked to, hanged out with. There was people who I went with every single day. That was, at some point in my childhood, I was out literally every single day, every day. After school, the weekends, summer holidays, I was out literally every single day. But I found that as I got older, I really drifted apart from people. Again, people get interested in kind of alcohol, partying, going out places, going out to clubs. And well, I'm still here, I'm 21 now. God, well, I'm nearly 21 and a half and never drank, never smoked, never took drugs, never had any interest in parties, so at least in terms of, again, the people who I was immediately around, people I was presented with, again, as we got older, our interests simply drifted apart. And I mean, there's many ways in which you can look at this in terms of most of the guys around anyway be interested in women and me being more interested in men. But even with my cousin, one of the things that I've really realised every year, this is kind of like a microcosm of something wider, is that every year we seem to drift apart. Because as we've grown up, she has got more interest in the very things that I've talked about in terms of kind of drinking, going out, kind of going to clubs, going to parties, going out places with people, which it's not just that I can't do that, it's just I simply have no interest in that. I don't see as genuine the kind of friendships I want, the people I want to talk to with, the people I want to be with is just in a more sober setting, simply. Something as simple as going a walk, going somewhere, just talking with one another, spending time together rather than a club, a party, alcohol. That kind of thing really defeats the point of socialisation for me. So again, you can certainly see why I would have drifted apart and became more introverted. Although, after going to the furry meet, after talking to more people, even if it's just talking to people online that are closer by me, after becoming aware of different apps, and then of course being with my husband so much, going out on dates with him, spending time with him, really having that very direct wish fulfillment fantasy of all of these things that I'd kind of thought about and fantasised about for years and years and years in terms of just being with someone. Again, just talking with them, holding their hands, not drinking or partying or going anywhere particular, just simply that social interaction. Well, it has made me realise more just how much I really have craved, or maybe should have been craving, that kind of extroverted lifestyle, that kind of interacting with people, having friends. Although the only problem is in the kind of tricky situation I'm in is that what I talked about before in terms of people drifting apart with me. Well, most of the people my age, at least guys, interested in women, interested in partying, going out to clubs, interested in alcohol, maybe drugs, cigarettes. I'm simply not going to go on with them. I don't want to seem like I kind of do my video like it's... I'm aware that I'll be fine. I'm aware that I will eventually meet people and whatnot, but I've just really... Again, I've really been thinking back in my life just in terms of kind of recategorising things, reframing things, realising just how important socialisation has been to me, how important kind of the idea of not only romantic partners but friends, acquaintances, all of that has been. It's just that up until now, up until very recently, I've not really had the power of being able to talk to or being able to socialise with anyone I'd be interested in. Again, spending most of my teenage years in high school where I didn't really have much in common with anyone. But now, even though there's not very many people I might have much in common with, there's a much wider scope of people if I'm looking for that. Anyway, I'm rambling a bit, but I'm going to continue trying to meet people, and will it may take a while, I'm 100% sure that I will. So hopefully the next video will be slightly more cheery. Hopefully.